dog?
We did. We got a puppy in January. Reggie.
Can I guess what it is? I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I know what it is.
Yes.
100%.
Okay.
It's like tan, fluffy dog.
It's tan.
Yeah.
There is not one bit of fluff. It's a Hungarian
Vizsla.
Yeah.
I did not pick that.
Really?
That is an elite
I
dog.
can't believe you think I'm a fluffy dog person.
That was
That
was actually so rude.
Yeah. Oh no! Now you're being rude to all the
Yeah, I know.
listeners with fluffy dogs because there's a lot.
No,
of them.
I have a skill. I have a skill with dogs, and it's like my one small skill I have.
Well, that wasn't great. Then.
No, I've ruined it already. But I can tell any dog breed. Like, as in, I can go up to any dog at a park. Like, I've started that many conversations.
right.
And I go, "Your dog's this." They go, "No, it's this." I go, "That's what you think it is." But it's that, and it's got a bit of this in it. It's a breed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an impressive skill.
I'm rapt that you got a Vizsla though.
Thank
I know
you.
that how crazy they are as puppies. Like they're pretty energetic.
So this one was
Beautiful.
picked as a companion dog for Will,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was picked by the breeder because it's very docile,
Now I know what that means, but for everyone else that doesn't know what that means,
calm. Like, yeah. So Will did not want a girly dog.
yeah.
No, that's rude too, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
No, that's terrible.
I know what you mean. He didn't want a.
He wanted a 20-year-old bloke dog.
Yeah.
And he also, his hand function is poor, so he didn't want to be covered in hair and not be able to get it off him, so the Vizslas don't shed a lot.
Beautiful, and they have no scent. Is that true? Like they have no
They
smell.
don't smell like
Yeah,
dog.
they don't smell.
They're beautiful dogs.
Yeah.
But this morning, so I got a flat tire going to yoga this morning. Do you like how I got in that?
I love
been
that
to
bit. I was
yoga
going to say
this
that's
morning.
fantastic. Yeah,
I've been to yoga this morning, Dyl.
I haven't, to be honest. I need some.
I'm very bad at yoga, but I've been flat tire. My husband goes down to change the tire because I've got to get here to see you. I'm with the dog at home. Now we're staying temporarily in an apartment, and so my husband's like, I'm in the car park. So I'm like, I'm going to go down to the car park. He'll drive me back to my car. The puppy gets in the lift with me. I'm like, that's cool. The dog can come with me. This dog's well-trained, docile, sort of. But he had no collar and lead on. That's okay. We're just going down to the basement. But then the doors open at level 1 because someone's pressed the button. I didn't plan for that. And here's this guy standing with a puppy. So it is like WrestleMania in the corridor of this apartment. But Reggie's got no collar or lead on, so I can't grab him. So it is like full on. We finally get them apart. I get back in the lift, but Reggie's all riled up from the puppy wrestle. And so as the lift doors are closing, he sees a cleaner with one of those string mops, and he's never seen a string mop before because I don't mop a lot. And he bolts out back into the corridor as the doors are shutting. So I'm in the lift with the door shutting. The dog is out chasing the mop with the cleaner. So I stop, I get out, chase the dog. This happened like 3 times. It took me 10 minutes to get from our apartment into the car park.
If you're anything like me as well, as like a dog owner, I know some people are like this, some people are very chilled with dogs, but my dog is like my life. So if I am separated from her, like if she's near a road, I'm sort of like walking in between cars. Like I don't even let her off the lead. Like that's how much I'm cautious.
Right.
So in that situation,
You want to be a helicopter parent.
I'm a helicopter dog dad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
No,
but,
I'm not.
Reggie's cool. He's docile.
Yeah. Oh, he's
Anyway.
docile. He doesn't do anything wrong. That's why I'm late this morning
Yeah.
because I spent
Hey,
all morning
No such
chasing the
thing as
dog.
late, just as thing as
But
not
I've been
on
to
time.
yoga, so it's all good.
Yeah, and you're feeling calm and collected.
Yeah.
Hey, it is so good to have you back. In all seriousness, it's an honour, it's a pleasure. We did an episode which everyone would have heard that loves the show last year, and I will say it was a game changer. Okay, it was a game changer for me personally, just to have you in my life. And I know I'm getting deep already, but just to hear you and to what you did for me that day just like was awesome, and it's had a long lasting effect. But not just myself, like the audience and the response from that episode was second to none. Like it's been huge, and I think you've obviously built your own business with health performance mindfulness.
Okay, can we stop here?
No, because I'm still going.
I need to say this because I love how you love my work, but you call it health performance mindfulness. You've called it that like four different episodes.
no.
Yet when we spoke before we came on air, you called it high performance mindfulness, which is its right name, like several times. So I thought,
you were
he's got
stopping.
it.
I thought you were stopping me to like tell me I'm the best, but it was
Oh,
actually
no,
just.
No, and I thought, he's got it now, so I don't need to correct him.
Okay, I'm sorry. High performance mindfulness.
Yeah.
I don't know why I get that wrong, because you're right, I do get that right. Done incredible things. Most loved episode. I think you came 5th in the BNF, which
I think it was 6.
6.
But can I tell you, I have been involved with a few AFL premierships, some Olympic gold medals, which my children could not give 2 hoots about. But then they found out that I made the top 10 of Dyl Friends, and they posted on Instagram. They, introduced me as a top 10 in Dyl Friends to people. So
huge. Well, we're back, and that's why I thought there's no better way to start the year with everything to get you back on. Firstly, but also this time of the year, normally you've done this 2 years in a row with high performance mindfulness. And you sort of put out some tips and whatnot to get started on the year, and it's been big, and I think that's something we definitely want to touch on today later in the episode, because things have probably changed for both of us this year in the way we're feeling. But first, what's been happening for you? Because since we chatted last, your life has gone even crazier than ever with everything that's working, lifestyle, everything. What's news?
I think for everyone, 2021 was a pretty hectic year. And I mean that in that if you were just isolated and lost your job, that's hectic. Mine was hectic in that last time we spoke, I didn't really have a business or a product, and now I've gone and built an online product for corporate and sport and education. But I think for me, 2021, by the end of 2021, it absolutely buried me. I think I'd like to start there because I think a lot of people felt that. I fell into this trap starting probably early November, even late October. And in traditional mindfulness, we call it a game of when I, then I'll. So when I, then I'll. When I renovate my house, then I'll be really happy. When I get on that holiday in Hawaii, then everything's going to be amazing. And I knew that I was doing it, but this pre-season for the AFL was the first season in like 6 years that I said, I'm going to have a break. I'm not going to do a pre-season. So I dropped into this, when I have January off, I'm going to... I had me getting fit, getting rested, reading books, learning new tools in meditation. I also had a whole list of self-care things that I was going to do. I was going to get that feeling that I was supposed to get back in August and do this and do that. So I went hardcore when I, then I'll. And it really tripped me up big time. So Christmas Day, the filling I was supposed to get in August that I was going to do after in my magical January that was going to fix everything. I broke my tooth, and I spent my first 2 weeks in January in emergency dentals with root canals and different procedures and antibiotics and everything else. And then the entire family got COVID. And then the entire family got through COVID, and then my parents got COVID up north. So my pre-season that was off, that was going to fix everything, I just got buried, and I had wasted, the back end of 2021 holding my hopes up that everything was going to be magical because the date calendar changed and I had a few weeks of no work. And I think I want to say that because I think so many people have been trapped in that, when 2022 comes, when I have that break over summer, and we've come back and we're now in February 2022. And if you're like me, it's like, hang on, I didn't get that break. I didn't get fit. I didn't, tick off all these things. And so now what? And I think that's really important that we have the conversation about, well, what the hell do we do then? Did you get caught in it, when I, then I'll?
Yes, that's probably like my life motto
Yeah.
at the moment. I think I couldn't agree more. And I didn't even notice that was a thing. Like, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't even notice that I was in it until, you know, we spoke early a few weeks ago and what we're going to sort of catch up and talk about. And I was like, fucking hell. Like, I finished the year. I was like, all right, January, I'm having the whole January off. I've come back in, recording podcasts, and I'm like, do I even have a break? Like, I'm so tired still. Like, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm pumped, but I'm still just not in a mode. I'm probably physically in the worst condition I've ever been, which is bad because, you know, I do a lot of reflection on like when my biggest problem is I know when I'm not at my best, and it's three things. It's like physically, I have to be active because then I have mental clarity, and then I'm better at work and less stressed. So I spend more time with my friends and family. And that's like that's my thing. So I know I'm not doing that. And I just can't get back to doing it because I'm just still so tired from like what we've been going through.
Yeah, so I think this is where everyone is at, and, you know, it's understanding the stress cycle that we have been stuck in, and it's really important that we understand that, you know, when my son was injured, you know, quadriplegia, spinal cord injury, that's a massive stress. That like turns your life upside down. But that is not the only source of stress, massive traumas. We have these things called, well, I call them like minor stresses. So you wake up, you press snooze when you had set the intention not to. So already it's a stress of like, oh, you know, I'm shit. and then it's like, well, for me, a flat tire, or the dog does this, or, you know, the kids does that. Not a massive stress, but it's another minor stress that now has been layered on top of a previous minor stress. And these minor stresses are building. And then we sit down to look at our emails and we open them up and there's like 10 emails that have come magically overnight. And we're completely overwhelmed because by now these minor stresses feel like a big stress. And we've lost the ability to break that stress cycle. So what happens is the emotional state that we're in when we open those emails, it's an emotional state of stress, not because it's just the email stressing us. It's the kid, it's the pressing snooze, we know we're not fit, it's this, it's that, it's the traffic. We now have this emotional state that we attach to the emails of like, fuck, my job is so stressful, I can't do it. So every time we open the emails, we procrastinate, we, you know, get that feeling in our body and it feels like Monday morning or a Sunday night every single day. And so it's understanding that when that stress cycle gets triggered, that we can't just hope and wish and pray that will magically disappear. That because, and I can't believe I fell into it. Oh, just because it's January, it's like that stress cycle ends. No, it doesn't. We actually have to deliberately put in place things to break that stress cycle, which we can go through. But the stress cycle we have all been under. Now, we used to call burnout, which is a chronic stress condition, it's different to anxiety and depression. We used to associate it with like first responders, you know, firemen, carers, all of these people in these intense roles that are constantly exposed to stress. But we've lived through a pandemic and still in a pandemic, and the fear and the doubt and the constant news stream of people dying and vaccination, people don't want it, and mandates and this and that. We have all been exposed to chronic stress now for, you know, 2 going on 3 years. And prior to that, we were already in a pretty hypervigilant stress state. And so we now feel like you and I, like we're cooked. And then are you across 75 hard? Are you across that? That's on the internet.
75 hard?
Yeah.
No.
So then things like 75 hard come out, and a lot of your listeners will know Will and his mates are deciding to do 75 hard. And it's like for 75 days, you have to, it's like drink 4 litres of water, read 10 pages of a personal development book, have an indoor workout and outdoor workout, no sugar, no carbs. Like you do this thing for 75 days.
That sounds like hell.
You know, one of Will's mates like, I'm going to have to learn to read to do it. And another one's like, it's the sugar thing that gets me. I don't know what sugar's in. I said, what do you eat for breakfast? A bowl of Cocoa Pops. I'm like, well, okay, let's start with that. He goes, what about soft drink? How many litres of that do you drink a day? About 4. Okay, this is going to be hard for you. So things like 75 hard come out and we think, well, I'm feeling shit. I'm feeling burnt out. I need something. I'm feeling big feelings here, big stress, big exhaustion. So I need a big solution. So that's going to fix me. And day 3 of 75 hard and we give up. Well, now we're like...
I feel even worse.
I feel even worse and I'm setting myself up for fail. So we really need to understand that these stress cycles, if I'm not breaking them multiple times a day and resetting and turning that stress off multiple times a day, when I sit on my couch and watch Netflix at night, I'm still in the stress cycle. That does not turn it off. I need to learn how to turn it off.
Okay. I have a million questions. Maybe let's go with, while we're on that topic of turning that off, because exactly what you said then of going home like after a big day and, you know, I'm loving what I'm doing. But it is super stressful, what everyone does. You can still love it and be stressed. I sit at home and I am trying to like switch off watching Netflix, but still thinking about like 7 emails in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's something that everyone's doing because I still sit at home and I'm getting 6 emails from people I work with and I'm like, fuck, well, you guys need to switch off as well. Let's try and just calm this down.
Yeah. I think we need to first we need to throw the notion out that we are going to get work-life balance. Like, I think 2022 for me, I want to get really loud and really firm to whoever's going to listen to me. That I feel like we're getting robbed a bit by this message of like, slow down, get life balance. You know, it's, of course, yes, but I have bills to pay and I have 4 children and a puppy and I have places I need to be and I have things I need to do. And spinal cord injury, it doesn't actually take a day off. I don't get to just slow down. I feel like the people who are preaching slow down to us, get better work-life balance, work in something you're passionate about and you'll never work a day in your life. Like, wouldn't that be lovely if we all could do that? I feel like the people that preach that have they've done the grind, they've done the hard work, they've now set themselves up in a position where they can preach to others, and they're preaching a message that's making us feel like shit because we can't get it done. So I want people to know that this year is going to be crazy. It's going to be chaotic. There's going to be a lot of fear and doubt and stress, and we live in a busy world. So let's find ways amongst that to break the stress cycle so that we start to feel like we are more in control. And when we feel more in control, then it frees up enough space where we can go, okay, well, maybe I'm not passionate about my job in whatever I'm doing. Rather than putting pressure on myself that I should be making a living out of my photography habit, and so now I'm just stressed all the time. Well, how about we get you in your job breaking that stress cycle, which is coming from that story of I hate my job, I don't want to be here, this is terrible, and I'm never going to be able to do what I want, and life's no good. Let's get that story under control and get you breaking that story multiple times a day so that when you step back out into the world, now those breaks are really fulfilling and they feel great and you get recharged and you feel alive. Let's be realistic about where we are and start giving people tools that fit in with this busy, hectic, crazy life we're in.
I love that because it will personally for me is so relevant with how my brain functions. Like, I feel like I really struggle to go on holidays and whatnot when I'm not working, because if I'm not working and feeling productive, I can't relax.
Yeah, because you feel guilty.
We're not guilty. It's just probably something where when you know you've got things to do, how can you just go and just chill out? Like it's hard to find that relaxation.
So remember, we're wired like a caveman. We are wired to be hyper vigilant to stay alive. So the caveman's going through his day, danger, danger, danger. Is there a tiger over there? Rustle in the bush, could be a snake. So he's in this state of hyper vigilance. And, if there is a tiger behind a bush and a snake over there and a sniper behind the tree, the caveman, I'm not sure that there were snipers in caveman era, but...
I think there was, yeah. There was, yeah, from what I've heard.
And he is not going to just go, well, it's my time off, so I'm just going to sit down and put my feet up and actually relax here. he is wired to stay alive. So he's staying hyper vigilant. He's staying on. So you go on holidays, and just because you are on a holiday does not mean that hypervigilant stress response in the survival part of your mind and body is like, oh, he's on a holiday. Oh, well, I'll just turn off now. You have to turn it off so that that holiday now becomes recharging for you.
I like that, but when you say that as well, I suppose it comes back to that point in saying, with those people that would preach like going, do something you love, work a day, take break, and you shouldn't be stressed. It's like at the end of the day, sometimes when you are building a business or you are working hard, you actually just need to be stressed like a bit of the time. Like stress isn't a bad thing. Like I'm more asking the question there, is being stressed a bad thing? Because I feel like sometimes when I'm stressed, that gets the best out of it, but it's just when it gets too far is when it really impacts me.
Yeah. So again, if we talk about the caveman, if there is a threat there, so that's what creates a stress response, he's locking in. He's like, I'm focused on that threat and I'm doing everything I need to do to survive. So that when that stress response kicks in, it can make us very laser focused. So that's why we want an athlete, before they go out to compete, to have a level of adrenaline going. So I would always, with an athlete who is not aroused enough, with enough of that fight going through him, you will make him go and wrestle and punch. And so his survival part of his mind and body is like game on, and it laser focuses them. But if we get too stressed, then it puts our body into like a freeze mode or a shutdown mode. So that's why if an athlete's over the top, we want to calm them down. But the biggest thing that we need to learn, like you and me, we're not athletes, we're not walking into a stadium of 100,000 people. What we need to learn is the caveman would have a tiger and he would fight the tiger. He would either kill that tiger, he would either get away from that tiger, or the tiger would kill him. But it would end some way. So if the caveman gets away and he goes back to his cave, he rests, he recovers, ready to go again. We fight tigers all day. You're lying in bed at night. I bet last night you were thinking about today's interview, right? Now, you go, I'm just thinking about the interview. Your mind is wired to go, well, don't say that. Make sure you've got this. You better not. You better not get the business name. You better not say health. For I don't know what I'm not even going to repeat it. You better get a basic business name right.
Someone's getting a good plug out there. I don't know who that is. Anyway.
So we don't get time out from that stress response. Now, if an alarm is going and we never turn it off, after a while the smoke alarm's going to run out of batteries, right? And that's when we get sick. That's when we can't get out of bed. That's when probably for you and I, our January went pear-shaped because we have not stopped. And so our body is like, well, guess what? I'm going to give you a root canal. I'm going to give you COVID. Yeah. I'm going to give you long COVID. I'm going to, if you're not going to give me a break, I'm going to shut down.
I do think that universe thing is for sure. Like it does send you a message, doesn't it?
Oprah always says, I told you I love Oprah.
Yeah.
Oprah will say the universe will whisper at you. And if you're not...
Well, it hasn't whispered, it's head-butted me.
If you're not listening to the whispers, it will go louder. And if you're not listening, she'll say it will send you a lightning bolt. And I'm like, in January, I could have had like a $100 filling in August. Yeah. And now I've got, I'm potentially going to lose my tooth and thousands and thousands of later. I'm like, that is a universal lightning bolt.
Remiss of me not to do this because I need these blockers myself. But we've talked a lot about these stress breakers.
Yeah, okay.
Is there anything that you've found that's been beneficial for you personally to do this? Like what would you give an athlete in this space that say we're both in at the moment and I'm sure a lot of people are in? What would you say are some red hot rippers?
Well, I mean, what it looks like for an athlete, right, is that your player, let's say AFL, he misses a ground ball in the first minute of the game. Have you ever done that?
Yes, multiple times.
And then what do you say to yourself?
Oh, I'm shit.
Yeah, I'm shit.
Fuck this game. It's done.
This is going to be a bad game. Yeah. I'm not on today. So straight away the stress cycle has kicked in, and that like survival mechanism is like, get me out of here. Like, I got to get out of here. This is bad. So then they miss a ground ball and they're stressed, and then the ball comes to them and they, maybe drop the mark. Now they're even more stressed. Then I bet you've done this before. Like they make a wrong kick. I have had that many players say by a certain part in the game, I'm actually running away so I don't get the ball.
Oh, I can remember like last quarters when it was like tight, just going, I better get off the ground just in case I fuck up. Like, and not because I didn't want I wanted to be the guy that kicked the winning goal, but I was like, oh, it's probably just better me just leaving this situation.
Yeah.
Like that's where your mind goes to in that situation. I was so scared and paranoid.
But I don't think us watching realise there's guys out there who are literally trying not to get the ball right now. They're running patterns to not get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that moment, you know, it's like the first thing I say to an athlete is that you can't lose your skill. It doesn't go missing. It doesn't disappear midway through a game. So we have to recognise that we've gone into that stress response, and that stress response is not designed to make us good at football or good at our jobs. It's designed to keep us alive. So that is like, hey, run away from the ball right now because your biggest threat is fucking up in front of all these people. So run away from the ball right now. And so for an athlete, they have to turn off that stress response just like we do. You know, they wouldn't wait till Netflix at night to chill out. They've got to get on top of it right there, and we do in our day as well. And we have to look at it like really small things. Imagine the stress cycle has kicked in, like then an alarm's gone off, and I just have to turn it off. So there's how an athlete would do it is maybe when they come to the bench, you know, taking some time. When you guys go to the bench, do you love how I say you guys? Like, you are still an AFL
thank you.
player.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah.
It brings back good memories. But I relate this, and this is, I'm sure what everyone does is everyone relates these topics to their own life.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The bench is something else for someone, and that's why.
But like a player would come to the bench and they'd get straight on to the coach. The coach, you know, is speaking to them probably in very, you know, firm, loud words.
Not docile.
Not docile. And that is triggering that stress response more. So it's like, okay, and then they, you know, they're sitting on the bench so worked up. It's like, okay, stop, remove yourself from the game, put your feet flat on the floor, and just take a moment to take really long, deep breaths all the way down to your feet. I talk about the caveman a lot because I want people to think of it and really understand it. If the tiger ran away, the first thing a caveman would do, take a big sigh, like, fuck, that was close. So it's like actually breathe so you move your shoulders, your diaphragm, everything. So imagine before every podcast you did, you just took like a minute, put your feet on the floor, and take some breaths where I'm actually taking my shoulders down and away from my ears. I'm moving my diaphragm and I'm just feeling that breath coming in and sending a message to my mind, hey, danger's gone away, everything is good. And, you know, that is something really simple. I worked with Kate Campbell this year in the Olympics. You know what? AFL players' pressure is nothing compared to an Olympian. And then that's offensive, isn't it? But it's like, I have one shot in 4 years.
Yeah.
For Kate, it was the Olympic trials that were so hectic. The top 5 swimmers in the world were in that race, and they only take 2.
I remember like high school swimming carnivals, and they're the most nervous day on the calendar. Like imagine, sorry, I was just thinking in my head then, didn't realise I was actually talking.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, so you have to come in the top 2 to make an Olympics.
Wow.
You've been training for this, you know, for many, many years, every moment of your life measured, and you're up against the top 5 people in the world. And so the Olympic trials for Kate were really, really stressful. And again, we think, have you had Kate on yet?
I'd love to get Kate
Okay.
on. We've reached out. I think she's very busy, but we'll now that we're friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Kate, you know, Kate has done a lot of mental work, but what she articulates so well is that it's the simple things that turn off that stress. So what we had Kate do was when she walked into the pool deck, it was actually just stop and what can I see? What can I hear? What can I feel? Now, my mind can't be in stories of like, what if I lose the Olympic trials, and be in a state of, I can see a plant, I can see Dyl, I can feel my feet on the floor, I can feel my breath. it's like I can't be in two places at once. So she had to have all of these little routines that were like turning the stress off. So she would do that as soon as she walked into the pool deck. We can just take time out from our desk to look out the window, rest our eyes, take a few breaths. What can I see? What can I feel? It only has to be a minute or 2 minutes. We stop the stress cycle. Stress cycle is going to kick in a few minutes later, but we just have a break. Our nervous system can't be in fight and flight and rest and digest at the same time. That's a really important thing to understand. So every time I break it throughout the day, I'm getting these snapshots of resting, recharging, healing. I don't have to rest and recharge and heal for 8 hours. That's great if I can do that overnight. But it's like just punctuate our day. So an athlete is trying to punctuate it to keep control of it. So then what Kate would do is... in the marshalling area, a lot of my athletes would listen to a visualization that I'm guiding her through. But what I love about Kate's story is the song I Am Woman. Do you know that song? I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar.
Oh, God, Katy Perry.
No.
Katy Perry.
What am I thinking of? I'm a Lion, I think that's what Oh, fuck my life.
It's like a iconic
I Am
song
Woman.
from like the 60s.
Is that,
but I'm sure Katy Perry sung it at
I
some
keep
stage.
thinking, no, I when you said Hear Me Roar, I thought of Roar by Katy Perry. I think I should just go home. I'll listen to the song. I'm sure I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have asked that. I just thought, of course he knows that song. Helen Reddy.
Helen
Thank
Reddy.
you.
I am a woman. Yeah. It's
No,
Yeah.
that's not even
Okay.
remotely close to the tune. Anyhow, back to the story. Those lyrics really resonated with Kate. And so as she's listening to them, her mind that wants to tell her a story of this is bad, you're in danger, you could lose here, she's getting lyrics saying, I'm woman, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I can do what I need to do here. And so that's managing that stress cycle. Rather than just giving yourself over to it, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, this is a big race, I can't do this. That's what we do. We drop into the stress cycle and we just get worse and worse and worse. So there's all these tiny little things. Touch, a hug, animal, hug your animal, kids, partner. That is a great way to break a stress cycle. Cold water, the whole getting in cold water thing. Now, that's super hard. I'm not a great lover of cold water, but actually a warm bath as well is a really good way to break the stress cycle. Humming. What humming does is it sends it like vibrates our vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is going from your mind to your body and it is triggering the stress response. Sing will do a similar thing, humming, singing. So all of these little things. I took Reggie for a walk the other day and made the family lie down on their backs and watch the clouds. And before we know it, one kid wouldn't do it, but actually both kids wouldn't do it. I want to sound like one of those mothers, and I got my children on the ground and we're all grounded, but both kids refused to do it. But Nick and I did it. And watch the clouds and you instantly feel yourself drop. So all of these little things, but we don't, you and I are going, we got trapped into that. For me to break this stress cycle, I need to be fit. I need to run, go to the gym. I need to have green smoothies. I need to get up at 5 o'clock. I need to, find a job I'm passionate about. I need to, blah, blah, blah.
With that, firstly, that one with the clouds is probably one of the biggest ones that I picked up from our last chat about looking out the window.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourites still.
Yeah, yeah.
So like just
It's
trying
cool,
to find
isn't it?
things, moving, what's
Yeah.
going, staring, the rain, the wind,
Yeah.
everything.
It's
Beautiful.
great.
When you're talking about the stress cycles as well, this is a question, but I'm assuming no matter how good you get at breaking the cycle, stress is always going to come. So it's inevitable. It's always coming.
Well, that's how we stay alive.
Exactly.
If we didn't have stress,
But the better you get at identifying it,
yes, something triggers it.
yes,
So something could trigger it, like the flat tire this morning, the emails, the kids leaving the kitchen dirty, the exam at school, the teacher that you don't like. All of these things can trigger that stress response. And that is simply your mind going, this is bad, this is dangerous. Now, you are going to be triggered to different things to me because of our life experiences. You know, I don't think having a conversation with an AFL coach is stressful. You do, because your trigger is like, this is bad, last time that happened, you got delisted. Yeah, so your trigger...
Twice.
Twice. So we're all going to have different things that trigger our stress. That is why we should never just turn to someone and say, oh, don't worry about that. Like, why would you worry about what people thought about that? Because my experience tells me this is bad and this is dangerous. So something triggers that stress response, but where you're right is the quicker you can identify it, you have to know what stress looks like for you. Because some people will go very, very quiet in stress, and what it looks like is them not asking questions in a meeting, not sharing an opinion, not showing up, not contributing. My daughter came home from school the other day saying there was this new kid at school and he was really arrogant and he looks like he could be a really good kid, but he was, had to be the best at everything. And I was explaining to her that might be how he does stress.
Yeah.
I'm at a new school. And just because you think it doesn't make sense to you, let's not write him off, because that could be the way he does stress.
Yep.
And so once you know how it shows up for you, I'm not sure if I said on the last podcast, for me, victim, whinge, 2021, the year of resentment for me, resenting this, resenting that. That's how it shows up for me. So know what it is, identify it, catch it, and then we have to go, I've got to turn this stress response off before I have any chance of, doing something I'm passionate about, living my purpose.
Everything else.
Everything else. Let's turn this stress response off.
When you're talking about as well, these like the little things, so the little things that we can do to break the stress cycle.
Yeah.
I've found now one thing that I've gotten better at completely, and not just the mindfulness type things, but like I've discovered golf. Yeah. And like I joke about that because people are like, you play golf, you love it. I'm so bad at golf. I'm so bad. But one thing I've known for me now, and the reason I love it, is it's the only time for like 2 or 3 hours while I'm playing, sometimes 5, depending how bad it is, I am looking at trees. I don't have my phone on me. And when you're like, as bad as I am, focusing on like a ball and what you need to do with it and thinking about a shot, I literally do not think about anything for like 4 hours.
You can't be in two places.
I can't be in 2 places.
But I think it's important to recognise golf for my mother, my 75, I don't know, she's going to get cross if I don't get a number right, but golf is the biggest stress trigger ever, because she still wants to be a pennant golfer and she's so attached to the outcome and she knows her score and what she needs to get and what that woman got. And it's like, I think one day I said to her, okay, you need to let go of the outcome. Well, I just can't, Emma. Golf, to me, that is what golf is about. And so it's like, whilst it's great for you, it's a stress trigger for someone else. About that mindfulness, I worked with a Winter Olympian. Now, I tend to, if an athlete has talked to me publicly, I'll say their name, but they haven't. So I worked with a Winter Olympian, and normally when I work with an athlete, they respond really quickly, but this was not getting the response that I would normally get. And I felt a real failure. I actually thought, God, I'm shit at my job. Like, maybe I've lost what I can do. And then COVID hit, so we sort of, it just naturally fell away. And I've been following them. They're killing it. They're in medal contention. I sent them and their coach a message saying, loving what you're doing, it's awesome. And the coach sent back a message saying, we can't thank you enough for the work you did. It was amazing. It really turned their life around. And I'm like, what? And I was honest. I said, I didn't feel like that. And what they went on to say to me was that when COVID hit, this athlete who was really resistant to this work, and a lot of people are resistant to this work because it's like, what do you mean I look out a window and that makes me feel better? They're stuck in a hotel for hotel quarantine, not in a great space mentally. And the coach said, why don't we just go back to what Emma told us? Why don't, for a week, we're just fully like if we're going to scroll on social media, that's what we're doing. We're paying attention to that and that only. But then we give ourselves a break and now we pay attention to this. And then when we're doing that, we're fully invested in that. And we're not in this big mess of stress and stories of this is bad and everything else. And after 7 days, they were like, wow, I feel completely different. Now, it's the little things. And that's my message today, that finding little things out. Mindfulness might not be your go, but it might be every time I walk the dog, I just stop and let the dog, do what the dog's doing, and I just take some breaths. Great. If that's your thing, that is your thing. I'm really big on try a few different things, work out what works for you, and go for it.
I love it. And I hate using like these, because you're so authentic and you're just like making it so relatable to people. I don't like using these things sometimes, but like habit stacking is something that...
Oh, no, yeah.
Is that like... Yeah. With, you spoke about it last time, and that was one thing that I was like, I didn't really understand much about. I spoke to Mark Matthews about it, who was like, a big wave surfer. And then that was when it like clicked for me.
Yeah, probably. Because he explained it.
No. It was just like, sometimes you hear something so many times, like, oh, whatever. And then you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So now when I can get... consistent at these things, habit stacking, and you'd be better to explain it, but I do when I have my coffee in the morning. That's when I go, all right, now let's be present, feel my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's like every time I have my coffee, I be present.
Yeah,
every
that's
time
right.
I walk my dog, I leave my phone at home. So they're like my two things that I can just like stick with. But if you'd like to explain the actual...
Well, I think you've done a great job of explaining that we already have habits in our life, cleaning our teeth, having a coffee. When you sit down and look at your life, there's a lot of habits that you do every single day. And to just bring in a new habit is very difficult. So if someone said to you, Dyl, why don't you go an hour and a half a day with no phone? You would try for a few days and it's like, I can't do this. But because you already have the habit of taking the dog and you stack on top of that the habit of not taking your phone when you take your dog, it's easy because you already have an ingrained habit going there and you're just piggybacking onto it. So some people do when I'm cleaning my teeth, that's when I go through 3 things I'm grateful for. The coffee, that's when I encourage people to have a coffee either in a courtyard, on a balcony, sitting by a window. That's when but we don't. We have a coffee and we're scrolling or we're looking at our emails. So now a coffee, which could be a really great way to break the stress that has already built up from the snooze button and maybe you went to get something and it was in the dirty washing basket, all these little mini stresses. Then I have my coffee. That can be a great stress cycle, time to break the stress cycle, but we are scrolling, looking at our emails and freaking out further. So stack a habit onto it I give myself that time to be mindful. I get nervous using that word mindful because I think we lose people.
I think so, because as soon as, even me sometimes, when you're not ready to hear it, you just go, oh, I can't do that right now.
I try not to say it. So just think of mindful when I say, so let's stack the habit on, that's when I'm mindful. That is when I am just giving my attention a job, so my attention cannot be on the stuff that is creating the stress. So a job like, what do my feet feel like? What does my breath feel like? What can I see out the window? Gives you 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute where you're not paying attention to the stories that are stressing you.
Do you think with this space, right, we're talking about this now, like drinking coffee, going for walks, and the first time we had this chat, we're talking a lot about athletes, and so many of my teammates and ex-teammates messaged me being like, oh my God, I need to work with Emma, I need to learn all these things. But then now it's turned into just everyday people just want this nearly more than athletes want it. Like, have you found that's been changed, or has it always been prevalent in that aspect?
I am really worried about people right now. Like, we are disengaged, and disengagement is not because we're lazy or we don't care. It's because we are just so burnt out that we can't engage anymore. And we are, disengaged, burnt out, stressed. And people are like, I need a tool. I'm not mentally ill. I don't need perhaps medication. Some people do,
Yep.
and that's very real. And I don't need a whole lot of therapy and pill, but I am not thriving in my day. Most people are not thriving at all. I mean, I didn't thrive a lot of last year. Did you?
No. We use sometimes analogy with a company that I do a bit of work with mental. It's like thriving, coping, and dominating. I think it is thriving, coping, dominating, and like you're on a continuum basically. So it's like you can move from that in a day, but you just don't want to be in. You want to be in thriving or coping. Like coping's not a bad place to be.
No, and it's like
Sorry, it was struggling, coping, thriving.
I knew you were trying to talk about a spectrum.
It's first one
from
for the
not
year,
very good
and
to
I'm
really
like,
good.
Just don't know what I'm saying.
But do you find that in burnout? Like I was starting to get words wrong. I was starting to just not be very clear in my mind. And because I do what I do, I knew it. And I would joke to people, oh, I'm so stuck in when I, then I. But I sort of thought, no, but that's okay because when January comes, I will really get over this. And I think so many people are in February going, fuck, now what? So we need to talk more realistically and about things that are doable. We really do, because we set ourselves up to fail. Like we talk about these grand... So one of my things over January was I was going to read a book from my yogi master. I actually said to my yoga teacher this morning, it's insulting that I come to you because I'm that bad and you are a yogi master. But he gave me this book from it's this massive book, this spiritual leader. And it's about the stuff that we're talking about today, but right back from many years ago. And one of the first pages I read was he was talking about how as humans, we intellectualize everything. Like we think about why, and we think about all of these and why that needs to happen and what it means and what does it mean to us. And so we have all these thoughts. Many people today are far more articulate about mindfulness or authenticity or vulnerability. They can talk these words, but we never actually go, well, now let me try it. Now let me actually get very practical about it and see how it feels and not get so hung up on, well, Emma Murray meditates in that chair, so I've got to do it like that. Yours can be standing on the beach, walking the dog, sitting in your car, but actually try it, see how it feels, and work out for yourself what breaks your stress. But this year, we actually have to start doing things differently.
What would you, like, I'm assuming now, like, acknowledging that, breaking that stress cycle, knowing where you're at that in February now, and me being the same, I'm sure 90% of, or I don't want to put it in, a lot of people would be in the same position as we are now. What would you say for yourself are your goals in for the rest of the year? Like, what do you want to achieve and how do you want it to be? Like, do you want to, is it to stay present? Is it to just keep hustling, but just to know that you're going to be stressed or?
So because I have learnt a lot in this space over January when I've really buggered this up and I was sick with COVID, I spent a lot of time thinking not what I want my goals to be this year and not what I want to do this year, but I actually spent a lot of time thinking about why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, why am I doing this? It's a Commonwealth Games year. You know, I'm in contact with a few different sports and athletes. Why am I doing this was the big question. Now, you know, this is what I'm talking about. Out there's formulas and online courses about finding out your why and knowing your purpose. I didn't go through anything like that. I just sort of really sat there and went, why, like, what am I trying to get out of this? You know, I've got some premierships, I've got this, what am I trying to get out of it? And what I came away with was, for me this year, I want to really have a voice around what we're talking about, that we need to make it real for people. And we need people to start owning their stuff in a way that we learn from each other. Like me saying, I stuffed up from November to January. Now I've got to dig myself out of this hole, and I'm doing it by putting my feet on the floor before each virtual meeting. I'm doing it before I'm doing it by managing my diary differently and blocking out time. So the more we speak about this, the more we be open about this. So what knowing that why does is it means when opportunities come to me, I now have a greater direction to go, well, hang on, my why is this. So do I need to take that on? Where I've been living in a state of, oh, yeah, I'll work with you. You're cool. That'd be fun. Now, to protect myself and manage these stress cycles, it's like, well, why am I doing this? And does that fit in with that why? And that didn't require a therapist and a this and that. Like, I just thought about it for a while.
It's like the analogy of just saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
Which I agree with like I've done that
That's
probably
how
for
I've
the
got
last
to
4
where I've got.
Yeah, I probably
Yeah.
did that for the last 4 years. You
Yeah.
have to go through that stage, but now it's like what you're saying, and I suppose I'm trying to get better at too. And it's not so much with work; it's actually in social situations, because I feel like that's what drains me the most.
Yeah.
Is saying yes to too many things on weekends and events, and that's when I get to the stage where I'm just like, fuck, now I'm cooked. Like, I found socially is actually the biggest drainer on me than work.
Well, that's because fear of other people's opinions is bigger than your fear of Dyl Friends not of failing. Your fear of people thinking, here's what's going on for you. You think people will think, I'm because of Dyl Friends' success, I'm now too big to go to that event or go to that dinner or do this. So I have to say yes to all that because you're a very humble person and you don't want people to think you've got ahead of yourself. And now it's bearing you.
It has been, well, I wouldn't, they were your words, maybe, not mine. Hope, I don't even know. So that you probably are right in some situations, but like I'm definitely not too big to go to these events, but it is a factor that I go, fuck, it's just too much on.
No, I'm not saying you are too big to them, but that's like...
No, but that's already, doesn't that just already show the anxiety of what I'm thinking? Like you're 100% right. That is exactly what I'm thinking and why it is. Like I go, fuck, I have to do this because I don't want people to think I'm an idiot for not
that's
doing
right.
something.
Yeah, fear of other people's opinions.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and that's killing us.
And that's why when I lived in Sydney, and I harp on it all the time, I literally had like 4 friends. I didn't do anything. Like I literally did nothing on the weekend besides what I wanted to do. And life was so simple. And I know there's a lot of those bad, and I hate even bringing up COVID, but that's why actually I feel like I was going really well in COVID, because I was not the one when I was locked inside, but the one where we could sort of have the boundaries. You can't have anyone over. I was like, darn it. Like,
yes, absolutely.
I can't do anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one to break. And, if we find that hard, I'm doing a lot of work with students at the moment. Oh, our poor students are really, really struggling.
Because that's something you're doing a lot with. I saw you doing some stuff with Dave Asprey the other day.
Yeah.
What's happening there? Looks really interesting.
Yeah, so we have an online schools program that a lot of the schools are putting in place for their senior school students. Yeah. And it's basically giving them a toolbox of how to manage their mindset on those busy weeks in exams, but for life. Like, I had the most amazing experience out at Forest Hill College.
Yep.
And they have, kids from a very diverse backgrounds. They have a lot of, they have a deaf program there. And their stories, they need these skills for their work and for their life situations more than they even need it for their exams. And so Dave and I have been going out and doing some live stuff so that when they get on the online program that it makes sense for them. But our students, they're in a situation where their whole world is social media. Their whole world is this messaging that I need to do this. People will think this if I don't. And what will they think if I do this? And they're struggling.
I can imagine like that. You always think like these days, knowing what we know, growing up as a kid now, I look at like social media, TikTok, trying to break into an economy as well that's been really struggling. Like, there's not a lot of jobs. Well, in hospitality, I know there's a lot of jobs going on, but besides that, like career paths, it's quite hard to get to where you want to be. And I hate when like the, older generation is saying these kids are hard to deal with, but it's like, well, no, they actually just know like probably where they want to go a little bit more than other people.
I think sometimes we are not fair enough on these students. Like even when I was out, I spoke to a lot of schools on their first day back, and these kids, some of them, they're so slouched in their chair that they could nearly be on the floor. Some have got their eyes closed. It's so hard when you're a presenter and you're looking.
I was like that.
At that, and I have to keep having empathy. But the reality is that for them to sit in a room with Dave and I for an hour and a half, they've been on a computer for 2.5 years. And in an hour and a half on an online virtual thing, they would have had 4 snacks, gone to the toilet, scrolled through social media, had a sleep, And now they have to learn again how to be in a classroom, how to build social connections with people face to face, how to respect a teacher, how to listen. And we just sort of say, oh, they're not engaged and they don't do this and they don't do that. We've created a very busy, screwed up world that they're existing in. We need to take some responsibility.
Hey, moving to a bit more of just a path of working with athletes.
Yeah.
Because it's something that is so interesting, and it's something that I've wondered since we chatted last time. Obviously, the athletes you work with, as you said before, if they approach you and you've talked publicly about what you work with them, you're allowed to speak with them. There's other ones that get in touch with you. I'm more wondering, how does it work? Do you ever hit up athletes that you really want to work with? Have you ever gone to someone, hey, I really want to work with you. I think I can help you in a way. Or do you wait for them to reach out? Is it by a lot of it, I'm assuming, is referral?
Yeah. I quite often see stories in media and I think, I want to help that person. Like the Will Pekoski story. I remember I took a photo of the article and went, yeah, I could help you. Kate Campbell, right since the last Olympics, the previous ones before Beijing, Tokyo, yeah. The one before that where she blew up, right back then I was like, I can help her. But I don't go and approach them. Imagine, if you were an athlete, imagine someone hitting you up, hey, I can really help you. You would go, you're so not helping me.
Especially with athletes as well, you want it to be their initiative to do it.
So I just sort of put it out there and Will Pekoski's dad reached out to me. And because I follow them in the media, if they reach out, I'm like, yeah, I know who you are and I want to work with that. Jack Rewalt went to Scott McLaughlin and said after Scott McLaughlin blew up, oh, you should really work with Emma. I'm trying to think how Kate Campbell got onto me, but those sort of, it just sort of goes like that. Morgan Mitchell got onto me because I think one of the AFL players were trying to hit on her and they sort of said, hey, you should see Emma, I can get you in contact with Emma.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think they got what they wanted out of it, but I got a great client.
Good.
So just like that.
Yeah, right. We were talking about a funny story off air before about Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Now, last time we had the podcast, we were speaking about hypnotherapy.
Yeah. I remember you asked me about hypnotherapy.
Yes.
And
so hypnotherapy in terms of hypnotherapy, and you're changing not the one with you go to Bucks parties and whatnot. It's
a similar concept in that hypnotherapy is basically going into your subconscious mind and putting suggestions in there. So at the Bucks party, they're putting suggestions in there that you're a stripper or you're a quack every time someone says a letter 5, a number 5, or whatever it is.
I wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah. No. So I loved, you said you'd been hypnotised once, but you just zonked out. Most people, you feel like you've been zonked out, but you probably don't know half the stuff you did when you were hypnotised. But I don't do deep hypnotherapy. It's very much a cross between meditation and it's just me going into the subconscious mind to remove blocks and put in suggestions. And then the subconscious mind takes them as real and they act on them. And when you asked me about it, I thought, oh, should I tell you about Scott McLaughlin? But I'm like, oh, no. But now Scott, since then, has gone on to win another championship in V8, gone on to win Rookie of the Year in IndyCar, so I feel that I can share it with you. Scott had a terrible start. So what Scott's story was, when he was 16, he was in his first V8 supercar, and his very first race, he stalled on the start line and the entire field ended up his bum. Right. And so from that, he was very hesitant on the start line. That's how our subconscious mind works. It's like, no, that's bad, that's dangerous. You don't want that to happen again, so be really cautious on the start line. And so his start wasn't great, but we just sort of left it be because there was a lot of other stuff to work with in terms of his best execution in his race. And he was nailing all of that and he was leading the championship and everything else. And we thought, okay, we're going to work on these starts. Now, with hypnotherapy, it's crazy, but sometimes the suggestions you put into their mind, I then hear the commentators saying, picking up, wow, they can see it in the athlete. So I might put in a picture in Scott's mind of like he's like a drag racer off the start line. He can't see anything else. And then the commentator were like, wow, Scott McLaughlin start is like, you know, a drag racer. So they dragged them off the line. And so it was going great. And it was the Melbourne Grand Prix. And it was the main race. And Scott is like, him and Will Pekoski are two of the most competitive people I know. And so Scott, any race is very competitive. So we had started this little visualization, which is really a bit of a hypno, before he went out to his race. And I would do it right there in the pits just before he got in the car. And I remember, I can see it clearly in my mind. We're sitting in this near his truck. We do this sort of 3-minute thing. And so what I am saying to him is that, like, it's like you've got blinkers on. You can't see anything around you. You can only see the track in front of you. And, you know, what's in front of you, you dial that up. You can see it really clearly. You don't notice anyone else. The start goes, blah, blah, blah. And so then his subconscious mind just follows that, and it keeps him really laser focused on what he does, and his talent takes over. But I was using language like, you can't see any other cars. Everything to the side of you is blocked out. But I forgot to say, once you're on the start line. And so Scott gets in his car to drive to the start line, and he literally turns the car straight into a car next to him and writes the car off and writes the other guy's car off and can't compete in the race. And as soon as it happens, it's like, oh, I did not say once you get to the start line.
Oh my God.
So as soon as he's got in the car, blinkers on, I don't see anything, and I drive into a car. Scott, it was so out of the blue for Scott that Scott thought it must have been the other guy's fault. They nearly have a punch on in the pits. And I'm sitting there going, I think I fucked this up.
How long ago was this?
This was the Grand Prix in like 2018.
Oh my God.
I fessed up to Scott eventually, but I sat there going, like, he didn't race, and another guy didn't race, and they got on a punch on, nearly got on a punch on in the pits, all because I got the wording wrong. So I've never done that again. But that's how powerful it can be.
Yeah, that's That's so, like, I'm gonna go back up and try and find the vision of this if there's any. Yeah, you've got to watch it.
Like, what V8 supercars ride each other off before the race season starts in like the warm-up lap?
It's unbelievable. Everyone that we speak to that loves you and needs to wants to know this question all the time. It's always one of the most asked, and it's a hard one. We touched on it last time too. But your top 3 athletes you'd want to work with at the moment.
Oh, I want to work with.
Like, they can be on a world stage, like anywhere. Who would you like look at and go, yeah, I'd be keen to work with you?
I don't look at a specific athlete. I always wanted to work in F1, and Oscar Piastri is going into F1. So
superstar.
That is, I feel like, okay, well, that's ticked off. Every year I watch the tennis, I think, like, I look at some of the situations that happen in the tennis, and these tennis players would respond really well to this work because it's their subconscious mind that gags.
Look at Medvedev, like,
I know,
recently, and I feel so bad for him. Like, I do, you can get so heated, but if he had someone that was with him...
It's like you are just sabotaging yourself. Like, so someone like that would be amazing, because I get the biggest kick out of seeing athletes perform to the best of their ability. Like, most athletes we're watching are not performing to the best of their ability. And you look at someone like Ash Barty, she's got her shit together. You know, she's done a lot of work on who she is and why she's there and all of that stuff. And that's amazing. But you look at Medvedev and he just has a subconscious mind that just is really, he cannot regulate his emotions. And so he would respond really well to this fast, sharp, like, here's a tool, do this, visualization that has you in that moment reacting differently. So, someone, I like the ones that have either had a massive blow up, Kate Campbell, Will Pekoski, Scott McLaughlin, all are similar, because it's in those times that we've had massive failure that our subconscious mind goes, I can't do this anymore.
Well, even like on a world stage now, like, look at someone like Ben Simmons.
You know what? I would work with him in a heartbeat. Actually,
he
there
would
you
be
go. I would work
unbelievable.
with him.
Yeah.
Um,
After that,
because
how what that he's been put through and how that whole who knows what the even story is. There's three sides. There's the truth, but that I feel like he is on a mission now to come back and do something. Imagine if he had
So why I would like to work with him is because he's on a mission to come back and do something amazing, but his subconscious mind, when you have been blamed for losing, this game and people are booing you and this and that, it is very, very hard for your subconscious mind not to go, this is bad, this is dangerous, let's get out of here. You can't just tell someone, don't worry about what the crowd think. It doesn't work like that. So working with someone in that situation, that'd be awesome. Do you know him?
Yeah, I don't yet, but we will definitely. We've got contacts. On that as well, I know we're harping on this, but sport, is it more enjoyable sports or is it more the situation? Because before you said about, you think AFL is a pinnacle in Australia, everyone thinks that it is, but realistically, like you said before, the Olympics is a 1 in 4 year event that's you have to perform. There's events that are so much more high stake than actual playing a game of footy.
For my work, I really like the high stakes work because that is when your subconscious mind is so on the edge. In football, if it's not going right, you can sort of say, well, it's his fault or it's because of that or it's because of this. So whereas Scott McLaughlin or Oscar Piastri, they can put their car into the wall and game over. Yeah. So there's a lot more stakes on the line, and that's why I really like that work at the subconscious level that is we need to get you where your focus is able to, no matter how dangerous, how scary, stay in the pocket. I cannot tell you, and you can get her on as a guest to talk about it, the pressure and expectation of Kate Campbell in that Olympic trials. When the Olympics were cancelled, she was on point. She was ready to go. Yeah. She was firing. 12 months later, she's public about the mental health she'd struggled with. What she didn't tell anyone was 4 weeks out from the Olympics, she's running to, and I can say it now because she said it publicly in an interview with me the other day. She hadn't told anyone pre or post Olympics. 4 weeks out of the Olympics, she's running to her car on a wet, Queensland can have those downpours. She slips on the driveway and she literally breaks her ass. She breaks her coccyx, sacral.
Sacral. Yeah, the sacral.
Yeah. So, and she's got a kick. She's a 100-meter runner. She's the sprinter, and that's 4 weeks out from the Olympics. And so yeah. And we criticise these athletes, and we don't know half their story. We know what we see on the television, and we criticise them, but they're not out there making excuses. She didn't tell anyone about that, and that pressure for her going into the Olympic trials, I've never seen an athlete under so much pressure in their life. That was superhuman what she did.
Huge. Unbelievable. The sky's the limit for you, and I'm not saying this in a way. I know you think I try and schmooze you up all the time, but we just believe so much in what you do, and we love everything, and the audience does too. I know we said no goals before, but is there anything else you're looking at achieving this year, adding to your business, adding to working with anyone else that you can give us insight to? Is there anything that's in the works?
I really, after last year, am really determined to try and get better emotional regulation around my workload. So that sounds like you're supposed to be teaching this stuff and you're saying that's your goal. It just took too much of a toll, the stress cycles that I sat in for too long. And so I want to try and this year still achieve, because like you, when you're building I've had to have massive acceptance that I don't think you can build a business without being ridiculously busy and ridiculously stressed. And people say, well, don't do that. It's well, that's why some businesses succeed and other people don't, because you're prepared to keep going when you are tired and stressed, just like you do. I want to really challenge myself to get better emotional regulation and control around that to make me a better teacher. Because I feel, as I have said to you multiple times, we need to become really loud about this message that this world is not slowing down anytime soon. Your bills are not disappearing. And if there is a magical way that someone has worked out to, slow down and cherry pick their passion and everything like that and make it work, I will be all in. But for the most of us, we have to get through every day with greater regulation, greater control, more management of our stress cycles in small little ways, or else what are we here for? We don't want to get to whatever age and it's like, well, that was just a grind. So I want to do what I do with less grind. I want to be at the Commonwealth Games. There's a few things there. I think. I don't know, Dyl. You asked me this last time and I was like, I don't know. And a year later I've got, the whole business. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for whatever it
Ben
is.
Simmons, you're going to get me Ben Simmons.
I'll get you
and
Ben
I'm going to be
Simmons.
working with Ben Simmons.
I'm going to call him after this. I'm going to call him up. I'm going to tell you my goals too, because I feel like if I tell you mine,
yes.
then
okay, thank
it's
you.
on record. Mine is, from what we've said today, and it's been a common thread, but it's been affirmed today, is I'm going to continue to work as hard as I can and hustle and grind. That's not stopping, because as you said before, if you're going to do something, you've got to be stressed and you've got to enjoy it, and it's going to be hard work. There's going to be shit days, there's going to be good days.
We've got to tell ourselves a different story around that grind. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But in saying that, I'm going to get better at identifying when it's at the tipping point and having those stress regulators.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
Look at you.
That then I can implement.
Yes.
To bring myself back.
That's right.
Okay? That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, and this was something that I still, it goes into that, is it broke my heart the other day. I was with my mum, and I was getting married, and I've got this, my family, I'm everyone there.
Yeah.
And it was a week-long thing, and I was still just thinking about shit I had to do. I was like, I've got to organise this. And mum was having a conversation with me. She goes, Dylan. She goes, you're not here. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I nearly cried. And I was like, I've got to get better at that.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a word for this year, and your word is acceptance. And so you have to, and I think we all do, have to have acceptance that, I'm always going to have something I need to do. I'm going to have acceptance that I'm never going to get to the end of my to-do list, because what's happening for you is you've got these things to do. They're triggering the stress cycle, and you think the only way to turn that stress cycle off is actually to tick them off your to-do list. But then something else comes on. And so it's I'm never getting to the end of it. So rather than trying to jump over into those stresses and control them and shift them and change them and find solutions for them, we have to accept that there is always going to be something to do. There's always going to be something that's making me feel like I have to do more. But right now, right now, the most important thing for me to do is to be present with my mum. Yeah. That's it. And those things, I have to have acceptance that it's normal to feel edgy about them, have acceptance that it's okay to worry about them, but acceptance that I can't do anything about them right now, but what I can do is I can be right here with my mum.
Love it. Love you.
Oh, love
Thank
you
you.
too.
Thank
I'm
you
going to
so
love
much.
you even more when you get me Ben Simmons.
No. Yeah, I'm going to do that. We have a big sleuth. They're very good at coming together as a community and just tagging the absolute hell out of people. I did it this week, poor Daniel Ricciardo, Nick Kyrgios, Ash Barty, and Marcus Stoinis. They have copped an absolute barrage from the Dyl Friends community. Just they're going to block me soon. So we'll get that to Ben Simmons for you. But no, in all seriousness, thank you so much. I want to keep you involved as much as I can with everything we do.
Yeah, I think, Dyl, a lot of students listen to you. They need your help. They really do.
I want to say, when you say you need my help, I am learning with them, to be honest. I don't think that
So what I mean by they need your help, they need you to bring them content that's going to help them.
Yeah, cool. Exactly right. And that's the thing that I want to be clear is I know as much as everyone. It's amazing people. Just on this as well, I had a really good realization yesterday. Someone was interviewing me.
Yeah.
And they said, what do you do weekly for yourself? And I was like, if I did my same spiel that I always do, because you just say, if I'm fitness, I feel better mentally, then at work I'm less stressed and I have more time with the family.
Yeah.
And then but do you do something else religiously? And I was like, oh fuck, I've got Emma coming tomorrow, I've got to get something ready. And I was like, you know what I actually do? once a week, I sit down with an incredible guest
Yeah.
and I chat
Cool.
for an hour and a half with no phones.
Yeah.
And I'm completely in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
learning new things.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the best thing for me ever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally just talking about something, like learning from someone
Yeah.
once a week.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No,
like,
it's great.
I didn't realize like that I was actually doing it. Like, that's what I'm doing in the show, and anyone in a podcast. So I would say, like, anyone that's listening, you are, by listening to another person's conversation, not just this podcast, anyone's conversation that's good for you, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually good for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know we have to wrap this podcast
No,
up.
we don't.
But it's
No,
a
we don't.
learning moment for the people in the audience. You've said it a couple of times, this podcast, this story of when I'm fit, then I'm better at work, then I turn up to my family and friends more. Stories like that actually create a lot of stress cycle because you're setting yourself up to fail. Because if I can't, effectively you're telling your subconscious mind, if I don't do my fitness, I can't be good at work, and I certainly can't then be good with my family and friends. Where it's really, it's like, I don't need to do my fitness to be present and show up well to my friends and family. I can do that because I choose to do that. But the story you have is so big that if that fitness goes missing, and it might go missing because of COVID, you might break your foot rolling your ankle down the stairs. Then it's what? Like, every part of my life falls apart. So it's again, that word acceptance, your word for the year. Acceptance that I might not be able to do my fitness, but I'm really good at my job, and I know how to be clear at my job, and I know how to show up with my family. And I trust that when the time opens up, then the fitness will come. So now I'm out of that stress cycle, because the stress cycle that you're creating around that story, I have to do fitness to do that and that, puts you in a stress cycle that when your mind and your body is like, you don't have time to do the fitness.
Yeah.
Because you've got to do this, this and this, because I'm so hypervigilant about all these other threats. So you're making it hard for yourself.
I love when you call me out on things. You know that. You're the master, and I am so good at believing my own bullshit that is like...
That's not bullshit.
No,
that's what we do.
Yeah.
We create these stories when I then up.
I know.
You're in a trap of...
But we were just talking about it, and I didn't even realise that I was doing it.
Then I'll do that. And when I do that, then I'll do that.
Yeah, it's more probably for me in the language saying, like, when I'm at my best, I have a good mix of these things.
Yes, that's right. Why when I then I'll is so dangerous.
Yeah.
From November to January, what I missed was that great conversation with my kid, because I'm stuck in, when I get to January, then I'll connect with my kids. I missed that sun on my face. Because when I get to January, I'll lie in the sun and that will feel amazing. I missed, really reading that good book. No, I won't pick that up tonight, because when I get to January, then I'll read that book I love. And so I just missed a whole chunk of great stuff that is there in everyone's world every single day. It's there. The sun's there, or feel the wind on my face, the phone call with your mum, the hug with your kid, the hug with your dog, your pet, your cat. All of those moments are there, but we're chasing the bigger moment that's going to come when we get that holiday to Hawaii, or that January off, or I'm sure we're all sitting already, when I get to Easter, then I'll start the
When
fitness.
I earn this much.
When I earn this much, when I renovate my house. How many people have renovated the house because that was going to make everything amazing? Yeah. And now I'm still addicted to my phone. I still drink too much beer each night. Yeah. I still hate the shape of my body, and I'm still not present with my kids.
Do you know what's really funny? I know we're meant to end this 40 minutes ago, but I've still got so much more to talk about. I was having a meeting with my accountant the other day, just before, start of the year. You go like, this is your goals, this is what you need to do. And the same thing, I was like, I just need to do this. And by no means is anything flourishing, but I was like, we need to do this. And he goes, you know what people say, don't you? They're like, there's apparently this study, okay, there's no quotes that's at all, so I could completely be making this up. But he said from $50,000, people who earn $50,000 to $100 million, all they want to do is say they'll be happy when they double their money. So someone who earns 50, they say, I'll be happy when I've got 100. Someone who's got 100 grand, they say, I'll be happy when I've got 200. Yeah. Someone who's got 200 grand, so it goes up to people with 100 million say, I'll be good when I've got 200 million. So it's like always just wanting that little, you just always want that more.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to have a third podcast to fit this in. I'm just going to open this topic for our next podcast. happiness is the gap between reality and expectation. So we have this expectation of our life. You know, I'll be happy when I have $100 million. I've got this, I've got that. And then the reality is the reality. The gap between the two determines our happiness. Now, let me just finish with this example. You've got some executive and he's in his mansion in Turak and he's got 5 Porsches, and we all look at him going, wow, like how good's his life? But his expectation of his life was that I would be married and I'd have kids and I'd have time with my kids. And so he looks around at his situation and he holds it up against his expectation and he goes, I'm so far from that. That's how unhappy I am. But then there's someone who's in their little, you know, house and they've got a telly on the wall and, you know, they can provide food for the family each day. And their expectation in life was that I would put a roof over my family and I would put food on the table each day for my family. They check in. They're like, yeah, tick. We're looking at them going, oh, God, but they are like, I'm happy. And if you are right now, if last year not happy, this year we don't have to chase more. We have to check in, well, what expectation am I putting on? What do I expect this year to be so that I'm not setting myself up so that my reality is wildly different from my expectation? And you asked me about what athletes. If I just started going, I'm going to work with Medvedev, Ben Simmons and, you know, Chicago Bulls, then I'm setting myself up to just constantly be unhappy, where the reality is worked with that athlete, no one knew them, no one knew I worked with them. But gee, they brought their best and that makes me really happy because that was my expectation. So I want everyone to just check in on what they're expecting from this year and are they setting themselves up for the reality, for it to be unachievable and drop into that unhappiness.
I think
Drop the mic on that one.
That was
we'll
mic dropper. Thank you so much again, Emma. It's been not just an honour and pleasure, but very helpful today. So I cannot thank you enough for coming in. Part 3 is going to be knocking down the door, demanding another rep in the middle of the year.
I'm nervous. What if I don't make the top 10? My kids aren't going to speak to me again.
Well, at the moment, you're coming first.
I know.
So, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, you're going really well.
I'll tell them that.
No, I can't wait to just stay involved and keep tracking and following everything you're doing because it's seriously
What's your
huge.
word for the year, Dyl?
Acceptance.
I love it.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.